And that's our mission for you, the listener, today. It's not just to see who won, but why they won. We want to extract the essential judgments on taste, discovery, and what separates a winner from a loser here.
Yeah, we're digging into Greenstock's review of Round 1, Group 220.
We want to find those nuggets that explain what separates, say, an enduring progressive winner from a temporary success that just fizzles out under this kind of pressure.
And this particular group, wow, it was a fascinating clash of titans and newcomers.
So we've come up with a title for this album quest, pulled from the four contenders.
We have. It is. This human country boy has good karma on the waters.
That sounds like a cryptic message left on a dusty motel mirror in, 1974.
It kind of does.
So let's formally introduce the players in Group 220.
Okay, in the ring, representing 4 really distinct musical timelines, we have, first, the modern, soulful debut that just stormed the charts, Human by Rag & Bone Man.
A huge album.
Massive. Second, the definitive classic compilation, 20 Golden Greats by Glen Campbell, and this is the vinyl edition. Oh, interesting.
Third, the late career, very digitized pop rock statement, Good Karma by Roxette. And finally, number 4, the masterpiece of 70s songwriting, On the Waters by Bread, also on vinyl.
That is a staggering lineup. I mean, the contrast there is incredible.
It really is.
You've got pure 70s composition battling 2010s digital production. You have the foundational talent of a country legend facing off against the sheer power of a modern vocal star.
And we're going to analyze the specific reasons why Roxette and Bread earned their advancement and, why Glen Campbell and Rag & Bone Man were relegated to elimination.
It's that depth of critique that this whole album quest demands.
It is. And we'll see that the journey to first and second place, it reveals more about the nature of musical excellence than just, stating the results.
All right, so let's begin with the albums that didn't make the cut. First up, securing a respectable but ultimately eliminating 3rd place. We have Glen Campbell's 20 Golden Greats. What's immediately apparent about this collection is the genre blending. The reviewer describes it as this fertile mixture of crooner country rock.
Let's break that down. What does that actually sound like?
Well, it's important to understand this isn't like rough-hewn, gritty country. And it's not pure rock either. It's this highly sophisticated blend that leans, sometimes toward that smooth, easy-listening crooner side.
Right, like a Sinatra almost.
In a way. And then other times it leans toward that slightly more rugged, folk-inflected country feel. It occupies that wonderful, lush middle ground of, late 60s and early 70s pop.
And the key to its sound is undeniably the production. The source material highlights the prevailing use of orchestration.
Absolutely.
This is that signature sound of late-era Nashville production applied to pop music, right? Rich string sections, maybe a touch of brass, choral backing vocals.
Oh, I did.
I have to wonder, when you're judging a group of 4 like this, how much does that polished classic production style help, and how much does it actually hurt?
That's a great question. It's a bit of a double-edged sword. That orchestration, which was done expertly by arrangers like Al DeLory and Jimmy Webb, that's precisely what gives these tracks their timeless, almost cinematic quality.
So they don't sound dated.
Not at all. They aren't tied to the dusty sound of a particular moment. They sound like they were designed for posterity. A track like Wichita Lineman. It just wouldn't possess that emotional sweep without that meticulous string arrangement holding up the vocals.
Now, we're talking about a specific listening experience here. The 1976 vinyl edition, the reviewer confirmed it still sounds utterly superb.
Right. And that pristine audio quality is a huge advantage, especially when we later discuss the technical issues that another album in this group faced.
Good point. A clean, well-mastered vinyl copy of these orchestrally dense tracks it would truly shine.
Absolutely. But let's delve into the reviewer's personal realization about Campbell's legacy, because this is kind of the core discovery mechanism of the whole album quest.
Right, this is that moment the listener connects the dots. For Greens to Rocks, Campbell was the artist behind all these classics they'd heard countless times.
In films, on the radio, sampled everywhere.
But had never definitively tied back to one person. This collection provides that central anchor.
And think about the iconic nature of the songs that are suddenly materialized by this album. You've got Wichita Lineman, Galveston, Rhinestone Cowboy.
All massive cultural touchstones.
Huge. And then you have the songs that were already sort of swimming in the reviewer's consciousness, Things they knew through covers or half-remembered radio plays.
Like what?
Dreams of the Everyday Housewife, All I Have to Do Is Dream, and the timeless Reason to Believe. The album quest transforms that latent familiarity into active, conscious appreciation.
Okay, but let me challenge the source material here a little bit. Given the sheer undeniable quality and cultural significance of these songs, how could this album possibly only secure third place?
That's the question, isn't it?
If a compilation has this many true masterpieces, doesn't it effectively become the definitive statement of an artist's career? And shouldn't that inherently rank higher than any single, potentially patchy studio album?
That is the essential conflict inherent in this whole competition. You're absolutely right. In terms of raw hit power, 20 Golden Greats is pretty much unbeatable in this group.
So what's the problem?
Well, the album quest as a concept often favors artistic intent and cohesion. A dedicated studio album, like the two winners here, presents a unified vision over a specific period. A compilation, by its very nature, is, retrospective, it's disparate.
It's an anthology, not a narrative.
Exactly. So it's penalized not for quality, but for its structure.
But the album wasn't just resting on those massive hits. I mean, the reviewer was compelled by newly discovered material, right? The deep cuts held up under scrutiny.
Precisely. And this is what validated its solid effort conclusion. The newly compelling material included tracks like Country Boy, which is a perfect example of his narrative skill. Try a Little Kindness, Gentle on My Mind, and the lovely ballad One Last Time. Their presence confirms that even the non-mega hits possess the structural integrity and emotional depth to stand right alongside the classics.
So it sounds like an album that performed admirably. It demonstrated the immense, enduring talent of Glen Campbell, but was ultimately sunk by the stringent criteria of the album quest.
Yeah.
Specifically, the focus on a unified artistic statement over a collection of works.
That's the most logical deduction. It's a truly solid effort from a truly legendary artist, but third place is the consequence of competing against two highly focused studio albums that just demonstrated exceptional cohesion.
Okay, now we descend to the bitter end of Group 220. Fourth place, occupied by Rag & Bone Man's multi-platinum debut, Human.
Yeah.
Commercially, this album was a monumental success. Critically, in this quest, it received, well, a surgical takedown.
The initial description is fair. It's a solidly produced, soulful pop affair. It has incredible polish and obviously the immense vocal presence of Rory Graham. But the core critique from Greenstrokes is that the material is patchy, showing songwriting naivety. This implies that the scaffolding, the structure supporting that powerful voice, just wasn't strong enough.
We need to unpack what songwriting naivety sounds like musically, especially to an experienced listener. It's easy to say the voice carried the album, but where does the composition actually fail?
It typically manifests in predictability or structural impatience. Let's start with the title track, Human, which is clearly the strongest song on there.
Right.
The critique is that it's too eager to give away its payload. Musically, this means the song doesn't adequately build its foundation. It jumps almost immediately to the high drama and the catchy repetitive hook.
And if we look at the structural fix that the reviewer suggested, a two-verse build-up before that huge pop hook hits, that speaks directly to rhythmic and harmonic anticipation.
Exactly. A great song hook works best when the listener has earned the release. If the song immediately drops the tension, as the source suggests it does, the impact of that huge, satisfying hook is just diluted.
So that's the naivety.
That's the naivety in composition. It's relying on a single, powerful element, in this case, the vocal delivery and the hook's immediacy, without understanding the subtle art of pacing and narrative tension required to maximize its effect. The structure is simple, maybe too simple, and you don't get that emotional payoff of a true journey.
That structural impatience is often a hallmark of albums that are chasing commercial radio success. The imperative is to grab the listener immediately, not craft a long-form listening experience.
It is, and this flaw connects directly to the second major critique, the over-reliance on the voice in the production. Tracks like Odetta or As You Are, they reportedly lean too heavily on Graham's phenomenal voice and that polished, layered production rather than having strong, independent compositional bones.
So the song should be compelling, even if it were sung by a less talented vocalist with just an acoustic guitar.
That's the test. Here, the voice is the composition, and that's a dangerous reliance.
It sounds like the reviewer felt that if you stripped away the sheer scale of the production, the melodic and harmonic structure was hollow.
Yes.
And this lack of depth contributes to the album's overall fatigue factor.
It does. The album is very front-loaded, and that structural weakness becomes increasingly apparent as you move into the latter half. Take Ego.
Okay.
The reviewer gives credit for a good chorus, but it's immediately undercut by the amateur rap at the end.
Let's analyze the impact of that rap. Does it ruin the tone, break the momentum, or does it just feel tacked on?
It's likely a combination of all three. In a soulful pop context, a tacked-on, ill-fitting rap. It often feels like an abrupt shift in tonal registers, a sudden unnecessary dissonance.
It breaks the flow.
It breaks momentum and suggests a lack of confidence in the track's original arrangement. It's almost as if they felt they needed an extra element of flair, regardless of cohesion. This failure in artistic judgment really harms the track's competitive standing.
And crucially, the cumulative effect of these lesser tracks, Arrow and Love You Any Less, are mentioned as just not bad, is tiresome. The pacing ultimately drags the listener down.
It leads to that powerful, if brutally funny, conclusion. By the time you get to the final track, Die Easy, the reviewer states that is exactly what the listener feels like doing.
Ouch.
It's a clear indication that the album lacked the consistent quality control or judicious sequencing needed to sustain a 14-track runtime. Many of those tracks, while not bad individually, simply did not warrant inclusion in a highly competitive bracket like this.
So the final judgment is harsh. It's nothing more than an okay album, and it sounds utterly ordinary when placed next to the enduring compositional depth of Bread, the polished classics of Campbell, or the bold evolution of Roxette.
It's true. The sheer commercial weight of Human meant nothing in the face of these structural shortcomings.
The takeaway here seems definitive. In the world of the album quest, vocal power and commercial success are not enough. They're insufficient substitutes for consistent, mature, and compelling songwriting.
Absolutely. Rag & Bone Man failed the core technical requirement of this competition.
Let's transition now. We're moving from the failure of structural composition to the triumph of it. If Rag & Bone Man failed because his music lacked strong compositional bones, let's look at the album that proves classic composition can overcome almost any hurdle.
Okay.
We begin with the runner-up, second place, Bread's 1970 album, On the Waters.
On the Waters is just a revelation of 70s craftsmanship. The genre is defined as West Coast easy rock, and the reviewer calls the material delightful wall-to-wall.
Wall-to-wall.
Yeah. It's a testament to consistency. It suggests an album where every single track serves the overall atmosphere and high-quality standard.
The praise for David Gates' songwriting here is almost reverent. The reviewer notes sitting in awe at his seemingly casual delivery of such superb compositions.
And that points to that deceptive simplicity. These are songs that are structurally complex or harmonically rich, but they're delivered with such ease they sound completely effortless.
That is the mark of a true master, making the difficult sound simple.
And Bread perfected that delicate balance. I mean, you listen to tracks like Call on Me or Look What You've Done. They aren't trying to impress you with technical shredding or dramatic vocal acrobatics.
Wow.
Instead, the focus is entirely on the structure, the perfect placement of harmonies, and a chord progression that moves you emotionally without ever sounding forced. The album is described as having not a single stray song. It all fits perfectly and sounds sumptuous.
That word, sumptuous, speaks to the quality of the arrangements and the playing, which must be pristine. Yet, here's the profound paradox of this album quest entry.
Right.
The strength of this exquisite material had to conquer serious technical problems in the physical media itself.
This is truly fascinating. We are talking about a 50-year-old vinyl record that, by the reviewer's account, had sketchy reproduction quality. Specifically, there was a slight crackle and perceptible distortion on certain key moments.
On which tracks?
On Call on Me and Look What You've Done.
Now, I would argue that in a high-stakes competition, especially when you're comparing against the digital clarity of Roxette and the superb vinyl quality of Campbell, this kind of audible fidelity flaw should be a fatal wound.
Logically, yes. A crackle is distracting. Distortion breaks your immersion. But the material is reportedly so superb that the listener almost doesn't notice the flaws.
Wow.
And this is perhaps the most profound statement about the power of composition in this entire group. When the composition, the melody, the harmony, the arrangement is fundamentally sound, it creates a gravitational pull so strong that surface imperfections are rendered irrelevant.
It elevates the music above the medium.
Exactly. It sets up an extraordinary benchmark for the album quest. Compositional genius is the ultimate shield against technical deterioration. If the song itself is perfect, the crackle on the vinyl becomes a charming artifact, not a defect.
And that's a key insight into Green's taste. They prioritize the foundational composition, the songcraft, above production clarity or novelty. Moving beyond fidelity, let's discuss the commercial identity. On the Waters is significant because it features Make It With You, which was Bread's one and only #1 hit in America.
Yeah.
Yet, as the reviewer notes, they weren't wildly embraced by the pop charts on the same scale as other 70s giants.
And the reason hypothesized is critical. Bread was consistently light on the rock. They were rooted in guitar-led rock and roll foundations, but they eschewed the loud, high-energy tracks that often dominated the radio.
So their tempo was consistently slow. This specific sound, semi-acoustic, gentle, suited to the early 70s country rock atmosphere, it defined their unique lane, but it limited their broad pop appeal.
Right. They weren't supplying the energy needed for constant rotation. They were creating these beautiful, gentle musical streams, which, fits the album's theme.
And this quiet consistency led to their reputation as a muso's choice. We throw that phrase around, but what does it mean in the context of David Gates?
It means they are a band deeply appreciated by other musicians for how the songs are put together.
Can we point to a specific musical characteristic that would appeal to professional musicians?
Absolutely. Listen closely to the way Gates handles acoustic guitar voicings. They are often incredibly subtle, using unusual inversions or delicate counter melodies that fill out the sound without cluttering the arrangement.
And the rhythm section.
Well, in many of their songs, the bass lines are surprisingly complex and melodic. They're almost a conversation with the lead vocal, which is something a serious musician immediately recognizes and respects. The technical precision is masked by the emotional warmth.
And this enduring musicality, despite the vinyl's age, secured their second-place slot.
It did.
We now arrive at the gold medalist of Group 220, Roxette's 2016 album, Good Karma.
Yes.
This victory is a complex fusion of nostalgia, profound personal relief, and successful artistic risk-taking.
The psychological drama surrounding this album is essential to its victory. When a listener deeply loves an artist, the release of new material is just fraught with anxiety.
It is.
It's not just expectation, it's a desperate feeling of dread that they might finally deliver a stinker. And Roxette's ability to exceed these high, fraught expectations is a huge part of the first place story. They delivered what the reviewer called an excellent pop rock album.
The reviewer even posits the no bad album thesis. Struggling to name major bands that truly never made a stinker, Dire Straits and Lou Gramm-era Foreigner are mentioned, but Roxette seems to hold this rare spot.
And the source defends this vigorously. Even their mid-'80s debut, Pearls of Passion, which the reviewer admits was a little rough around the edges, was still solidly produced with killer melodies. Roxette rarely falters.
So Good Karma entered the album quest needing to defeat not only the other competitors,
but also the immense legacy of the band itself, and it succeeded.
Let's track the album's evolution. The opener, Why Dancha, is described as fairly ordinary electropop, a classic Per Gessle special.
Right, similar to Dependable but not groundbreaking prior tracks like Real Sugar or Way Out. It's the safe, solid foundation.
But the album truly shifts gears and takes off with track 2. The sweeping Gazer. It just happens.
This song is the launching pad. It initiates a rush of high-quality songs that characterize the entire record. And this indicates fantastic sequencing. They use a solid, expected track to establish their footing before delivering the genuine excellence.
And the quality control is evident in the list of tracks singled out for praise. You've got Southern Summer, You Make It Sound So Simple, this one, and Why Don't You Bring Me Flowers?
And that level of consistent excellence is what Rag & Bone Man utterly failed to maintain.
Now, let's get into the production, because this is where Roxette took their big risk and won.
It is. To ensure freshness and avoid becoming a stagnant rehash of their 90s sound, they collaborated with the Swedish production duo Attaboy vs. Cliff.
And this infusion of contemporary influence resulted in a radically different soundscape. Good Karma is noted as being not exactly a very organic album.
Not at all. It aggressively embraces Gessle's electronic leanings, using digital loops, EDM beats, rave synths, and even auto-tune voice effects.
That is a bold, almost jarring move for a band famous for big, organic power ballads and guitar hooks.
It is. And the reviewer speculates that this heavy electronic presence and the subsequent de-emphasis on traditional instrumentation might be linked to Marie Fredrikson's health struggles,
Right.
which limited her physical presence and availability during recording. The production became a necessary framework.
And that shift is crucial.
Yeah.
Roxette risked alienating their core audience by moving so far into a digital sound. Yet the victory suggests this was a necessary risk to avoid compositional stagnation.
Precisely. If they had attempted a purely organic 90s-style power pop album in 2016, it might have sounded dated. This electronic framework provided a modern, clean slate.
So it allowed Gessel to deliver his signature catchy, well-structured pop melodies.
But within a cutting-edge context, it's musical evolution via technological adoption.
But the emotional core of the band, Marie, still shines through, despite her diminished role.
Her presence, even if it's less frequent, provides this crucial layer of organic beauty that cuts through the digital sheen. Her vocals are described as sparkling.
So when she does take the spotlight,
She reminds the listener that beneath the rave synths and digital loops, there's profound human emotion at the heart of the music.
and that leads us to the emotional knockout blow of the final track, April Clouds.
This track is where the psychological drama and the real-world context just collide. Marie sings the powerful, heartfelt lyric, "Stay forever, stay a little while."
And given the widespread knowledge of her serious health battles at the time,
That line is just heartbreaking and profound. The reviewer noted its power was enough to induce tears. So this is not just a musical victory, it's an emotional resonance victory.
so Roxette's first place is secured by an impeccable blend, maintaining their high standards of songwriting consistency, successfully navigating a major electronic evolution.
And delivering a final, deeply personal, emotional impact that resonated far beyond the technical merits of the songs.
Let's consolidate the results now that we've deeply explored the arguments for and against each contender in Round 1, Group 220.
Okay, the final ledger reads: in fourth place, eliminated due to structural inconsistency, Human by Rag & Bone Man.
Okay.
In third place, eliminated despite impeccable material due to format constraints, 20 Golden Greats by Glen Campbell.
On vinyl.
On vinyl. In second place, Progressing, winning through compositional transcendence over poor fidelity. On the Waters, also on vinyl, by Bread.
And the winner?
And claiming the top spot, Progressing, winning through high standards, evolution, and emotional resonance. Good Karma by Roxette.
If we look at this grouping, what unifying principles emerge about what Greenstock's values in a winning Album Quest contender?
Well, the results speak to a foundational belief in the importance of consistency and structure. The two winners represent enduring quality achieved through two really distinct methods.
Right.
Bread won on the merits of timeless, superb composition, the quiet confidence of flawless songcraft. This is music valued for its structural integrity, unmarred by fads or commercial pressures.
And Roxette won on the merits of evolution under pressure. They succeeded by taking a classic sound and bravely injecting it with contemporary, bold electronic production. They achieved consistency not by looking backward, but by forcefully moving forward.
Proving their formula could adapt to new decades.
Now let's compare that to the albums that fell short.
Glen Campbell's collection was solid. I mean, objectively, it contained some of the best songs in the entire group. But its compilation format meant it lacked that singular, cohesive, thematic intent of a dedicated studio record.
Right. In a competition focused on albums as unified pieces of art, this segmented quality becomes a disadvantage.
It does, and Rag & Bone Man's album failed where Bread succeeded. Composition. Human lacked the fundamental compositional depth needed to compete at this level. The powerful voice and the huge production just weren't enough to mask those patches of songwriting naivety that emerged under intense scrutiny.
So it seems the core lesson here is that in an album quest, you need either near-flawless classic composition that transcends its medium, like Bread,
or consistent quality paired with exciting, successful artistic evolution, like Roxette.